show coming today. So, folks, you want to share it around? There you go. Yeah, I'm back live. But, folks, we got a great show. We're going to talk about the midterms here. We're going to talk about the election that's going to go on Tuesday. And I want to discuss a few things that we need to know before we go to the polls. So, to the American people and patriots across this country, let us be smart and let us vote our values. Let us get ourselves together and go to those polls so we can make a difference. But in the meantime, we started a little bit early so we can check our mics and all that. We want to make sure we were getting a little flux around here. We want to make sure that we got everything in place. So let me check and see if we get a signal. But we got a great guest. We got Miss Hughes coming back in today. And we're going to discuss the governor's race here in Illinois. I just think it's really a shame. It's really a crying shame what's going on in the state of Illinois and across the country, Georgia, the Democratic states, New York. All of these states seems to be having all of these issues. And the Republican Party have to be real careful about what's going to happen, because I just don't think that they're going to take this laying down the fact that a lot of people are upset with the country, with the inflation that's going on and the schools and the lying, the wars, all of that. And I think that's one of the reasons why we should become educated voters and vote our values. Because if we don't vote the values of the parties, or if we do not know the values of the party, then we don't know how to vote. And so tonight I want to talk to people. It is election day next Tuesday. I want to talk to the listeners today about voting their values and understanding what the values of each party mean. It's important that we do, because I was listening to Herschel Walker down in Georgia talk today, and I was real impressed by Mr. Walker's speech. I was impressed by the honesty that he purveyed and not being a politician. So we're going to talk about that. But I think that's what's needed in the country right now. We need those type of people to get into these offices, in these local races, because if we don't get regular people who experience the problem that we've experienced as the American people, then we're going to continue the same. So today we're going to talk about voting our values. I'm going to break it down for you. So if you don't know, I want folks to understand the real deal of each party. And we can't take it lightly, because we know for sure what each party is doing. But I want to make sure that our people know. Vote your values, and we're going to get it in about 4 or 5 minutes. So we got a great show. Y'all share it around. That's what we're doing. Sharing it around to our groups right now so that we can get ready. Got a great show. And here in Illinois, man, I'm just taken back by the voting process. I'm taken aback by Black people in voting here in Illinois. It's so much I got to tell you about what I've seen and heard in the last couple of days. You know, it's just like the church is for sale, or people are getting paid to vote a certain way. It is just totally crazy, folks. So if you ain't got nothing to do, y'all come on in, y'all share it around. We got a great show. We're gonna make some logic to voting, and that's what we want to do today. We're gonna talk about the values of voting. We're going to talk about those who are going to the polls to know who they're voting for. You got to know, because if you don't know who you're voting for, and we make a mistake and we continue down the road, I got to say this. I know the American people and patriots across this country, everybody should be tired of the situation that we're in right now. We should be looking for ways and alternatives. And so my guest just popped in. Hey there, Miss Crease. How you doing? I see you back there. But we're going to get it in, folks. We're going to get started here. And let's see. Let's get started. We're getting this party started right here. It's a Thursday. It's an all-out Thursday. We talk about politics. We're talking about voting values. So let's go. Let's get started. Welcome to the Terror Dome.
Does this have anything to do with the efficacy of the vaccine?
A global pandemic or a global plague?
I can't choke. I can't breathe. Please. My wrist, man. I can't take that, man. I can't. I'm gonna lay on the ground. I'm gonna lay on the ground. I'm gonna lay on the ground, bro.
Police gunning down black kids and men, an accident or simply murder?
We can deliver racial justice and we can make America once again the leading force for good in the world.
President Biden, will he make America great? We want to hear from you. Global, universal, and coming from the windy city of Chicago, Illinois. Now it's time to let the truth be told with David Lowry.
Good morning, Vietnam. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at. Welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. Folks, in light of the election season, we need to make sure that when we go to the polls, we understand who we're voting for. We need to understand what party and the values of that party. So today, if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio, and I'm your host, David L. Lowry Jr., and the show is Let the Truth Be Told, Let the Truth Be Told. I'd rather for you to hurt me with the truth than come for me with a lie. Come on, y'all, let's get it in. Let's get ready to rumble. Thank you and welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. Folks, first, I want to give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for making it possible for me to be here. And I want to welcome all my first-time listeners, those who have just riding by on the internet. Welcome to the talk show. This is an election midterm year. And I want to lay the groundwork for our listeners because I do not want the American people to go to the polls, anybody's community, but especially in my community, the Black community. See, today, I heard some disturbing things as a pastor. You know, I meet with other pastors and we talk and we discuss things that's going on in the community, in the church. And one of the things that I heard is about political leaders coming to certain areas and trying to induce the religious leaders to vote for them. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But more importantly, I want Black people to understand. I want my people to understand this. We have to stop voting emotions. We have to stop just voting because grandma said it was good or Auntie Ann said it was good. We have to start doing research and we have to start knowing who we're voting for and why we're voting for them. And that's the reason why I wanted to get started tonight before the midterm elections come. I wanted to get started tonight. And I just wanted to read some of the values off because I was doing this a little bit earlier and I was talking to some people and they did not quite know the difference between the two parties. And so that's what I'm going to look at today. I'm going to look at that a little bit today. I'm going to talk about the difference in those parties because I think it's just high time that we understand what we're doing, why we're voting, and what party and the values of that party we're voting for. In order to do, I'm going to bring my guest in. What's up, baby girl?
Coming back on. How you doing? I'm good. Doing well. Me personally, after doing 4 shows, sitting on my tail last night, 6 hours, got 5 hours of sleep, and then we're cooking majority of the food for my niece's wedding tomorrow. You hear my voice?
Yeah, I hear dead man walking. I understand. Believe me, I'm having a day too.
Saw me take 2 Benadryls before the show even ended because we're in sickness season. Let's get over it. I ain't talking about COVID because
no, it's allergies.
You know, the seasons changing, haven't went anywhere, and we're getting older now. So
I'm
yeah.
not claiming that getting older stuff.
Well, I know I've never been allergic to ragweed or even pine sperm, because you know down here in Georgia there's a lot of pine trees. But
It
you
is.
know, the season is changing right now, and so I'm just trying to make sure that are all taken care of. We listen to David. We get our vitamins, our minerals. We get a good night's sleep, and we try not to drink a lot of vodka and cranberry grape.
All right now. That sometimes is the that's the equalizer, y'all. But we're talking tonight, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Herschel Walker.
Okay.
I watched his speech that he
Okay.
gave the other day. But a lot of times, sister, in our community, Black people really don't understand who they're voting for. And I just wanted to read some things off tonight that I think between these two parties that we should know. Now, when it comes to the Republican Party, I'm going to read them off. You want to expound something, say something.
Okay.
Republican Party believes in limited government. Now, folks, we know what limited government is. That means that a government that allows the people to run it. That means that they're not.
That's our government already. We're not a democracy. All Black people, come on. All white people, all Hispanics, everybody. United States is not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic that was formed and founded. I don't care how you feel about it. I could care less about that. But shouting democracy to get your way with mob don't rule in America. We have laws and we have order. So this democracy that Democrats and all these people, progressives, like to say as a hashtag, being a propagandist, once you pick up the Constitution and understand what these founding documents actually mean. So we're not a democracy. Most people don't even have an idea between a republic or democracy to begin with. I'm gonna need for y'all to start picking up books.
Yes. And that's true. But I'm reading things from the Republican side versus the Democrat side. Now, the Republicans also believe in private wealth creation. And the reason why I want to say something about that is because this country was built on the freedoms to make as much money as you want. It's a capitalistic country. And so we've been allowed to make a lot of money and not have to be accounted for by the government.
Well, what does the Bible tell you? You're a minister, you're a pastor. He says, leave a legacy.
Exactly.
Generational, not a curse, but a legacy. Not a curse, but wealth. Not a curse, but knowledge. So even the Bible tells you that we're supposed to be leaving a legacy
for our children.
Generation. Exactly. So everybody out here, they're like, well, the Republicans just want money. That's why you broke. That's why you have no mentality of even wealth mentality, but you'll go to a church that'll sit there and preach to you about
and drain your pocket
doctrine, but you won't even change your paradigm or shift it. That means the way you think. You won't even shift your paradigm to even think about making your own money, because 16 tons, what are you getting? You ain't getting nothing but still whipped, because all these people that want to talk about plantations, well, you still on there working for someone.
And you know what? I'm reading it. And it's the next one. And all of this is on the Republican side. I'm going to read the Democratic side too. It says the value of life. And that means that the Republican Party believes that we should save lives. We should not abort lives. And I have to say this. Had we had known, and this is why I say a lot of pastors, a lot of families, Democrat people who thought that Planned Parenthood was a good situation for us, it was not. And it has destroyed over 58 million Black babies murdered in the womb. And the Republican Party values life. So Roe versus Wade actually was the government saying, we don't want to pay money to give you abortions. They wasn't saying we taking women's rights. They weren't doing nothing. That's up to the states to make that decision. So we just want to be clear that you understand what's going on and what, when you're out there, what you should be doing and what you should be looking for when you go to vote.
Know what a male or female is anymore. I'm gonna say that one more time for the Democrats.
You're right.
because
You're
I
right.
was in a debate and it's on live. We live streamed that debate. It was an angry black man. I'm a veteran, but you can't call me a man. But I'm gonna tell you then, sir, then you ain't nothing to me, because even my fathers, you called me a sir. You called me a man. You're a black man, and you are telling me I'm not allowed to call you exactly who you truly are because you don't believe in the 10 Commandments. You don't believe in God. But since you don't want to be called a man,
Right.
I can call you something way worse. But
Well,
he's a minister, and I am not.
well, and that's the thing too. And this the reason why, folks, if you listen to the show, the reason why I'm reading off these things, because I want you to have a clear mind when you make a decision to pull those levers in this midterm. And it also says, even at the value of life, there were so many misconceptions about what the Republicans believe in, but the Republicans also believe in school choice. That means that parents have the right to know anything that's going on with their children. That gives the parent the right to deal with the schools. The Republicans believe that the schools should not be surrogate parents to your children, especially with this homosexuality attitude where they're giving your kids drugs, giving them operations, turning boys into girls, girls into boys. These things should not be into the schools, but the Republican Party believes they shouldn't be in there neither, and that parents should choose what their children learn instead of them telling your children to hate you. Go ahead.
Well, in the last 2 years, the only thing I've heard from the Democratic plantation, Tim must be Tina. Your parents can't raise you. You need a record player because you don't know how to teach your children ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Black people are too stupid to take tests. They can't get to school on time. It's the white man's fault because these schools are dumbing your kids down. It's blah, 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 blah. It's the same crap for the last 60 years. How you still falling for it?
And that's why I'm reading this, because we have to do better. Now, I know you're going to love this one, Treese. The Republican Party believes that marriage is defined by God between a man and a woman.
I don't have to love it. That's what God says.
That's
I'm going
what
to say
God
this
says.
one more time. I don't have to love it, like it, accept it. That's what the basic instructions before leaving Earth said. You're going to make $1 million if you wish hard enough. You're going to be prosperous if you believe hard enough. You're going to get to heaven if you work long enough and say, swing low, sweet cherry. Stop it, people. There's no mediator between God and man. He rent that tent in half when he died on the cross and said, it is done. So anyone that think it, even the 10 Commandments should be in the Democratic plantation's playbook. But let me tell you, before you even get on the Democrat, let's talk about the 10 Commandments. It says, thou shalt have no other gods
before me. Exactly.
You can't even say God's name in the Democrat side. You got to, are we talking about Bel? Or a slaughtering of children? Or are we talking about Methuselah? Or are we talking about Satan himself? It says, thou shalt not make idols. It's called Bohemian Grove out there in California, where majority of all the power brokers actually go, while you have literally an effigy of a demon that the Democrats worship. Number 3, you shall not take the name of the Lord and your God in vain. Everywhere I go, I get cussed out by a black Democrat using the Lord's name in vain, okay? Remember the Sabbath a day and keep it holy. They shut down your churches. They shut down the altar. They shut down your churches. Number 5, honor thy father and thy mother. Democrats, y'all don't even have a mother and a father anymore. Anything goes. There's 100
their pronouns.
Genders, okay? I don't want to hear it. Don't pastors, don't come towards me, because I take that same book you think you repping and I smack you over the head with it. I know what my calling is. Don't get shot down by a woman, because God didn't put a woman to be above a man. You better watch yourself. Now,
And-
number 6, thou
ahead.
shalt not kill or murder. Every time you slap a child and you go to a Planned Parenthood, you have committed that sin. Shut up. I ain't the one that said it. God Almighty put it out there, and
That's
he
right.
literally put it in the mind of a man to put it on books. He inspired something that the Democrat Party don't do no more. It says, thou shalt not commit murder. Commit murder? Honey, you can marry a dog in the Democratic Party right now. I could have sworn there was humping trees. They was humping trees. Thou shalt marry a magnolia bush. I'm sitting here like a Democrat, Democrat. I'm hurting your feelings. Get over it. Just wait until God slice you to the left, since that's what you represent anyway. Krisha, you got some anger in you. Yeah, I've been talked about. I've been threatened by pastors and the people that says they preach his word, and the only word that you preach is Satan's. Okay, thou shalt not steal. You've been stealing from our families. You've been stealing from
Yes.
our communities. You've been stealing from our children. You've been stealing from our men. You've been stealing from our women, and you've been stealing from this nation, Democrat. Keep going. I will. It says, you shall not bear false witness against thy neighbor. I'm a Republican, and I get false witness and bear it upon me by a Democrat real quick. You're a cracker lover. You don't believe in Jesus. You murder people. You hate everything. You bearing false witness, and I don't even know you, but if you come here, I'm gonna knock if you buck. You're gonna F around and find out. I'm gonna flip that table.
We got to get through this. We got to get some talk. Okay. Also, the Republican believe they refuse to put political parties, government, or presidents before God. Now, these are all the things on the Republican side, and that's why I wanted to read them to people so they can understand the values of each party. Now,
okay, now read Democrats. Let's read.
I'm going to start reading the Democrats. The Democrats is working drastically to expand government and redistribute wealth. That's what the Democrats believe in. And they're already doing that. They're always creating programs.
It sounds like sharecropping.
Right. And so they've always created a program for a program, just like the COVID program. The COVID program was set in place before COVID even came. And so people were taken back by the fact that how the Democrats continue to push it. They kept saying, well, we got to do this. We got to mandate this. Y'all can have a lottery. Y'all can be we'll give you a hot dog just to take the jab. That was part of the government's overreach to take control. And that's what the Democrats believe in. And that's what we need to understand their values. It says they allow abortions on demand. Well, we know Planned Parenthood.
Man, come on. That's just raw and real if we're going to do this. After birth.
Yeah, they sell it.
The child has came out between the mother's leg. They can sit it in the corner and decide if they're going to be worthy enough. This is what y'all signed on to. They're going to let a baby being marinated before he was even born in your womb or even found it. They're going to let you carry that baby all the way up to 9 months and afterwards, and you decide if that child needs to go or it needs to live. You need to go before that child needs to go.
And it says also, these are all the sides of the Democrat. It says eliminate school choice. And we can see that right today with what they've done by putting homosexuality in the schools, by teaching our children to hate us, by dumbing our children down. They can't pass a test of science, math, reading, critical thinking. We can see all of this stuff in the schools right now, especially when they eliminated school choice. That means the parents does not have control of their children anymore, but the school and the teachers have control. And that's something that we got to stop because we see it today. There's no doubt about it. Under 2 years of the Democrats, we see it in the schools.
It's been going on since there. It's been going on since the 80s. You remember when Dad used to go into the schools and it said, dare to tell on your parents, tell the teacher, the cops, or call the police if your parents discipline you.
Yes, it started then.
It started in the 80s.
Yes. But the thing of it is, though, it started in the 80s, but they enforced it all in 21 and 22 because they felt that from this point on, after COVID, everybody was so scared. They felt that we're going to stick it in the schools right now. We're going to push the New World Order.
Because I want to give kudos to the Black community. I want to give kudos to the Black community. Y'all didn't fall for that crap. They hate us so much because the majority of the Black community didn't accept the jibbity jab. The majority of the Black communities did not fall into this school choice. That's why you see so many mothers and fathers. There's mothers and fathers in the Black community. And there's great people that goes out there and work hard every day, pay their taxes, become entrepreneurs, but they don't get no love and they don't get the kudos. We talk more about the people in the hoodish and the woodish, not the ones that escape that life and just want a normal life and prosperity and success. So right now in the UN, you can back it up. You could go out there and read it. So I'm sure somebody gonna pull me an article. They want to know, the UN and the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum want to know why so many Black people didn't toe the line. So
that's because we knew about Tuskegee.
Because our community is being targeted by the Wuhan virus. Miss Rose, Miss B-Dub, so many Black people and white and Hispanic literally read articles where they zeroed in that disease to cripple the Black community. So I actually want to stand up and say kudos to the Black community that did not succumb to all of this pressure. Was there some churches that shut down?
Yes, it was. It was quite a few.
Yes, it was. But the majority of the Black community did not toe that party line, and they did not inoculate themselves with this disease, because a whole bunch of us still got parents from segregation, still got parents from Tuskegee, still got parents that taught us and grandparents that taught us to think for ourselves. So that's why they're pooling their money together right now and panicking, because so many Black people, Hispanic people, poor whites are leaving the Democratic plantation because they want that less taxes, less government, and more self-responsibility.
And that's what it should be. We, the American people, should not be footing the bill for what the politicians do, especially on our money. They've taken our money, and doing this whole thing, they never missed a paycheck. Their children never missed going to school. They had plenty of food, and yet they hated to give us stimulus so that we could survive and pay our rent, our business. I'm saying this because people really need to understand what's happening here. When we go to the polls next Tuesday, we can't keep sitting around thinking, well, what somebody said about my grandmama and how long ago it was when they voted for her. But I'm going to finish this so we can go freestyle within it. Okay, and on the Democratic side, it believed that refined marriage based on politics. We already know about the pronouns not being men and women, the school, we know that. But this is the most important thing that I think. It says that the Democratic Party put the power of government above all else, including God. And folks, those are the values. What party that you might want to represent, I just read to you. And y'all on the comments, what we just gave to you was a true snapshot of the values of each party. And I know Black folks out there, when I read to you about the values of the Republican Party, see, we was raised like that here in Chicago. When my parents believed in God, they believe in working, they believe in making money. They didn't want the government in their lives. They made sure that our schools was teaching us something. You wasn't coming in the house talking about some homosexual stuff. You better came in the house and you better be ready to talk about some math. You better talk about some science. You had to be ready and you had to be knowledgeable.
I don't watch TV.
And that's not happening anymore.
Hammering my timeline for the last 2 months is some kind of baddies. Baddie South, baddie West, baddie East, baddie North. Somebody called Christian and Blueface, some ghetto ass people. It's pretty much what's been going on my timeline, where this is what they think the Black community and the Hispanic community is supposed to act like we ain't got no home training. But we ain't from that. Our culture And our religion and our faith base it was what saved this whole country. That saved this whole country, because we do have strong morals and values. And that's when I remember, if I look back at my grandfather's, he didn't walk out the house without a tuxedo on. My grandmother didn't walk out of the house without having a dress on. She made sure we spelled right, we talked right, we walked right. We was in church. We was in Sunday school. We was there. But in the last like 20 to 30 years,
we lost all of that.
When our families and our grandparents started dying away, we forgot who we truly was. So all of these people, because you got to remember, even white people was lynched too. Hispanics was lynched too. Indians, hell, they got a whole trail of tears. These people, it ain't a class system. It ain't a caste system. It is who got the money and who don't. Who is going to be on that plantation picking cottons, because they don't care if you're white, black, Hispanic. They don't really give a dang. They want to confuse us to fight amongst ourselves.
And that is the whole thing. And that's why we're doing this show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm trying to make sure that we can educate folks' mind about what's really happening. We don't hear nothing from CNN. You won't hear none of this from the major news outlets, because they are part of this problem. Yesterday, I wanted to say something. I was talking about this spiritual warfare. When I read those scriptures out of the Bible, Ephesians 5 and Ephesians 6, the whole problem is this. People, we are thinking with a carnal mind. And what I mean by that is this. We need to understand all this stuff that we are seeing, these unnatural lifestyles, the wars, all of this stuff that we are seeing. We need to be looking at it through spiritual lenses.
You can't do that if you wasn't blessed with the gift.
Well, the thing of it is, you have to read.
No, it ain't even reading, because God gives everyone time and talent. Everybody don't have the spirit of discernment. Everybody don't have the spirit of witnessing or even laying on hands. And many of the people that you're talking to and that's gravitating us right now are babes in Christ. They're still people that's on milk. So they ain't even had meat yet. They haven't even had garanimals. So you got to ease up, because some of the stuff that we're talking about, some of these people it's a culture shock, because they did get fed that narrative, because blue dog Democrats used to be what the Republican Party used to stand for.
Exactly.
What the Republican Party today, it wasn't no switching. It hadn't been no switching. The Republican Party, if you look all the way back to the NRA, you look all the way back to when the first 8 black men was senators up there in Washington in the 1800s. Yes. It was the same policies and procedures that the Republican Party have today. But if you go back and start looking at the switch in the Democratic Party, it's got to be LBJ, because he gonna have them niggers voting Democrat for 200 years.
But that's not what I'm talking about, Chris. What I'm talking about is this. We have entered a spiritual war. We already know about all of that. All of that is existing right now.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know about that. That's the point.
This is why I'm explaining to people now.
You got to jump milk. You got to.
No. Let me say this to the people. You better understand this much. Whether you pick the Bible up and never read it or not, if you got the inkling that there's a powerful being that over us that wake us up in the morning time and put us to sleep at night, then we need to understand that we need to find out more about God. See, a lot of people out here talking that they know God, and they just run in their mouth. They don't have a relationship with God because they didn't understand what Jesus did. And the real problem is this, that mankind, that we've allowed Satan to come into our families and lives and deluded us and separated us from God. And that's why I'm telling people today, I'm not preaching to you, but you have to have a relationship with God. If you don't have a relationship with God, that's where you find a church, or you need to learn how to read the Bible yourself. That's what I'm talking about. Let me cuddle you with some milk. You got to read and ask God to give you an understanding of the Bible.
There's a lot of people that think they speak for God,
but they don't
know him at all.
They don't. See, this is the reason why, for me, and I got my relationship with God on my deathbed. I didn't get my relationship with him when I was doing good and I got my relationship with him when they said that you're gonna die before the morning. That's how I got my relationship with him.
But God.
And I'm telling people this, and I'm being honestly true. We are in a satanic times. Right here in Illinois, the governor on December the 21st of 2020 put a display of Satan, a goat in a manger. I'm talking about J.B. Pritzker.
I read
right here to the pastors, and they put it in the Capitol building.
Yeah.
That would tell you, as a man of God, and to you pastors out here, to the pastors here in Illinois, and I'm gonna get to it in just a second. But if you follow a politician who goes against God and you're a man of God, how can you be a man of God? And that's why I'm saying we, as true men of God and warriors of God, have to control the politics, because our Father controls the world. God is the creator of all things. And through Jesus Christ, when you get Christ into your life and you receive the Holy Spirit, that's when you're able to understand that I don't have to worry about nothing, but I control this. We are heirs of the world. Until
But
people
see, that's
understand,
where you can say that, because it's not
that have
my
relationship.
It's not my place to even tell pastors anything, because that's not the natural order of things. Natural order of things is God, man, woman, and child. So it is up to the men to rebuke the other men. It's not up to me to chastise any man, because that's not my power and that's not my ability, and I'm not going to overstep my boundaries.
That's God's responsibility, because he said, vengeance is mine. It's not about chastising, but this is about awakening to people. And this is why I'm saying, that's why I read those values, the values of the two parties. And the Democratic Party is worshiping Satan. That's what I'm getting to. They're worshiping Satan. They're doing everything against God. They're doing everything against the American people. They're waging war against our children. And if we don't make some good decisions to the American people and patriots across this country, then this country is going to fall.
Here's a great thing you are showing right now, George Floyd. You want to shake people to their core, and you really want to talk to your minister brothers and sisters in Christ. Then you get the 2017 Democratic National Committee, when Perez was up there on that stage, and he asked 3 separate times if they wanted to keep God in the platform. And it was just like when the Pharisees arrested Jesus Christ. They booed. The Democratic plantation booed Perez for even keeping God in their platform 3 times. It was just like Peter was on the scene. So all these people that want to, stick with the Democrats, you do what you do, you boo-boos. You do you. I'm over to the point that I ain't gonna believe nothing you gotta say. There's nothing we have in common. And I heard what your party actually did to my Heavenly Father. So any pastor out there that is walking around and poking his chest out and saying, I'm a Democrat, you are oxymoron. And when that day come on Judgment Day, he's going to put us in 2 separate files. One is going to be on the right, and since the Republicans already consider themselves rights in the beginning, you stay on the left. We don't want you over here tainting blood. We don't want you over here tainting the sheep. We don't need no wolves. We don't need no liars. We don't need no Pharisees. We don't need those Sadducees. We don't need no bishops. We don't need no one that's finna sit with some fake prosperity doctrine. We want the good and honest truth of what it means, of Revelations all the way to Genesis. And if you ain't that type of pastor, then I don't want to hear from you, because there's enough wolves in sheep clothing that is taking so many souls straight to hell right along with y'all.
And I want to say that is so true, because I was in a meeting today, and here in Illinois, the race is coming down to the wire. And I think that, I put a joke out there about Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble. J.B. Pritzker looks just like Fred Flintstone, big gut, black hair, all of that. And Darren Bailey looks like Barney Rubble. Now, in this meeting, in this
You got
meeting.
Beetlejuice. Why you leave out Beetlejuice? You got to talk.
Well,
about
I'm gonna get to Beatles. I'm gonna get to Beatles. I'm gonna get to Beatles in just a second. But in this meeting, and I have to say this. This is why I say, as being a new pastor, I'm starting to see why Christianity is crumbling. Is because, let me say this: there were some pastors that I know today, and they was bragging. They was feeling themselves. They was like, oh man, old JB Pritzker, he done came out here in the south suburbs, man, and he giving away money like it ain't nothing, man. He gave me $1,000 to my church. And I said, basically what he did, what JB Pritzker did, is he came out to the south suburbs and he started buying boats. He started giving pastors 1,000 here, 2,000 here. And when they was, and the pastors was acting like this was a normal thing. Well, this was a normal thing, when all the actuality, what the JB Pritzkers are doing to the Black community, once they get into office, you can see nothing at all. They control the pastors in the churches. They control all the Black politicians, Raul Kwame, all these Black politicians here in the state of Illinois. That's
Kwame,
why Chicago. No, I'm talking about Kwame Raul. He's a puppet. He's a puppet that came up through the Democratic ranks, and he became a attorney general here in the state of Illinois.
Can you answer me this? Answer me this. Where all these gay Black men coming from? I always wanted to know.
From single mothers that don't say they need a man.
I got 2 sons. I got 2 of them, and they love.
I don't need no man. I can raise a man. No, you can't.
Oh my
it
God!
takes a man, somebody in that boy's life, to make a man. But what I'm saying is this: pastors, we have to really, if we love God the way we say we love God, and some of us do, then you will not take any bribes from anybody, especially when the community around you is dying. Black pastors in Chicago can't even talk about being out here to do nothing because their hands are tied, because the ones in the city of Chicago then got bought out by Beetlejuice. And that's that thing, Leviticus 20:13, that's in the office that calls itself a mayor, and we don't know whether it's a man or woman, so you just throw both of them up, and whatever comes down on what day, that's what she is. So
she used to be a pretty woman. Now she's just an ugly man.
Well, I don't know what happened, but whatever it did happen to her, we can pray for her on that time. But we as men of God, we have to stand.
No prayers. I don't ask me to waste no prayers.
You got to stand.
I am not wasting my prayers on her. It is gonna bounce right off her. Why y'all do that? Why pastor me like pray for him? For what? It ain't gonna get to him. God, I'm gonna slap that down.
I can't say the alternative thing on what I really want to say.
I'm not wasting prayers. There's many people out here without shoes or making ends meet, or they don't have they need that healing touch. Why am I gonna pray for someone that we know Lucifer already owns? That is wasting prayers when we got other people that can literally be uplifted and we can be interceding for our own communities.
Because God said that pray for those who spitefully use you, because as you continue to pray for him, it's like heaping hot coals on them, because he's going to take care of them. Be nice to them. But I'm saying this.
Look at me in my face.
I see your face. But I'm just saying this to the listeners out there, and I'm really sincere about this voting thing. This whole thing has been a war against good and evil, just like Sodom and Gomorrah was. And we really have to pay attention to what has happened. And that's why I keep reiterating about the gas prices. I keep reiterating about all the businesses that was lost and the people that was actually killed, our loved ones that was killed in the nursing homes. They shot, the people lost jobs. I mean, you have to think about the Democratic rule and what they did. We can't just keep, well, everything is okay. Now we're getting back on track. Joe done gave away our oil reserves. He continued to do stuff that he won't, but that Barack Obama's only pulling the strings. The whole mission right now is to deplete this country and to beat the American people down into a corner so we can submit and let them do whatever they want to do. And that's
you would think the Black community would be allergic to whips.
But
Pretty much
these
what
invisible.
plantation is doing is whipping them back into shape, whipping them to a frenzy to hate someone that don't even think about them, whipping them to blaming someone else for the tragedies they have allowed to happen, whipping them to believe that somebody else is the reason why their schools are failing, whipping them to believe that they should hate all the male role models and role models in the community. I'm over it. This internal fighting within the Black community, and now they hating on me because I escaped. No, I literally was that frog that jumped out that skillet. I'm sure your grandmama or somebody told you they've been turning up their heat for so long. I was the smart frog. I wasn't the toad that stayed there.
And so and in saying that, this is why we're talking. I'm just not saying this to be saying it. I'm saying it to let the American people know, and we have to really look at where we're at. We're in a situation where we're about to be in a third world war.
Yep.
A third world war right now. They already got boots on the ground. They're already doing subversive tactics against Russia. Russia knows these things. China's already behind our backs owning the land here. Yep. They're working with the Russians. They're working with the Afghans.
Yep.
They're working with Iran. They're working with Saudi Arabia. And now the American people, we have to really see this. They look at democracy over here, and that's why Russia bombed the hell out of the Ukraine, because he said he don't want the type of democracy that the American people bring, and that he don't want it. And that's why he bombing them to get out over there.
Stop saying that. We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic.
No, I understand that. That's why they don't want it.
Stop saying democracy, because you playing that word salad that don't mean a dang on thing, because we're not under mob rule.
But what I'm saying is this:
mob rule. And if we look at the Democratic ticket, all of that is nothing but mob rule. We're not there. We got law. We got a foundation. We are a constitutional republic.
Yes, but the words they're using, it's just like throwing the rock and hide your hand. They're saying it's supposed to be a democracy, and that's not what it's about. It's about a totalitarian.
We were never formed to be a democracy.
We were a republic.
Was never formed to be a part of a mob rule. That's why we left with the Puritans. That is why, we fought England. That's why we was in a Revolutionary War. We have never been a democracy. Literally, before the Constitution was signed, there was an elderly woman that walked up to what Benjamin Franklin and said, "What do we have?" He said, "We got a constitutional republic if we can keep it." So trying to change the title of who we truly are, I don't care. Well, Black people was 3/4. So it's 2022. If you still think you 3/4 of the person, get off this page. You ain't smart enough to understand that God made you whole and formed you before you was even thought of. So you sitting here talking about some democratic talking points. We are a constitutional republic where we have laws that we need to obey by, and they cannot come in here and take us over freely. If that was the case, then most Black people would still be on the damn plantation. So we are a constitutional republic, and then we have a Bill of Rights, and we are given our rights by the God Almighty, and not some white man, some Black man, or some Indian man. We got our rights from God. So until people recognize that we are a constitutional republic that was founded by his word and his word alone, we're going to still have that word garbage bull crap where the people keep saying we're a democracy. I ain't going on mob rule. I ain't having a picnic, and I ain't going to be lynched up in a tree. So we are not a democracy, because the democracy was the ones that killed your forefathers, and somehow she escaped. So can we stop talking about a democracy and tell us that we are constitutional?
Let me say this. Let me say this, okay? See, and this is why I say the word game.
Yes.
This is a republic, but they got everybody thinking that democracy means freedoms. You're supposed to have all these freedoms under democracy. And see, that's what I'm talking about. But see, what these other countries see over here is not what they want in their country. They don't want words like democracy in the Ukraine. Russia don't want that. But the American people have sucked it up in their mind that we living in a democracy when we live in a republic. If this is democracy that we living in now, this is why I'm saying it. If the people outside see what they are seeing in America, and America leaders is calling this democracy, they're saying, we don't want that. That's what I'm saying. The American people are being used and abused, and other countries don't want it.
We don't
that's
want
the
Black
reason
Lives
why.
Matter. We
That's the
don't want
reason why.
Antifa. We
That's the
don't
reason
want
why
any
they've
of
been
that.
created. And so now that they've
I'm
invaded
saying
them,
again, and I'm gonna keep saying, we don't want Black Lives Matter because mob rule. And a whole bunch of black businesses was burnt down, and a whole bunch of white and Hispanic businesses was gentrified. We don't want Black Lives Matter. No other community need to tell us what we're worth. So having a community called Black Lives Matter ain't nothing but propagandalist. My fathers told me what my worth was. My fathers told me where I came from. My fathers told me what they fought for. And they fought for the same thing that everyone that's American fight for on a regular basis. No matter if he was part of Black Panthers or he was on somebody's ship in the Navy, if the other ones were shooting off rockets in Vietnam. I had 3 fathers to remind me where I came from. And I didn't
let me say this too, because see, these are all the components that's part of the New World Order. And that's why we're doing this show, is because each one had a part to play. The Black Lives Matter, Antifa, their part to play was to riot and loot and kill and steal. Black Lives Matter tried to disassociate with them, but they was all the same. And so those are the type of things that democracy allows. That's what I'm saying. Those things, all the bad things, a democracy allow that. The bad things like taking a kid and taking a boy and transiting into a woman. Those are the kind of things is what democracy is doing to this country. And I know for a fact that Russia don't want it. See, we have no business. We have no business in the Ukraine. We shouldn't be sending trillions of dollars to the Ukraine because there is no reason to. But most of the politicians' children over there in the Ukraine is from the Democratic leaders who are paying their children all this money to be ambassadors to the state. And so when Mr. Putin saw that and he found out about all the 11 virus plants that they have, the chemical plants that they have in Ukraine.
It's 33. It was
33?
Yes.
See, that's the reason why they throw the rock and hide their hand. America got all this crap over there on somebody's land, and they talking about, well, y'all need to be like us. That's why this war is going.
You know what this war remind me of what my father went through with Vietnam. There's going to be a whole bunch of poor people from across the board having a whole memorial somewhere in Washington, D.C., where the rich people sit there and send our kids to a needless war. This war has nothing to do with America, and it has a whole bunch to do with politicians pillaging and raping not only America for their natural resources, but also Ukraine. And we're talking about on both sides of the political aisle. So just because I'm a Republican, trust me, I'll call them out too. And there's a whole bunch of warmongers over here, the Bush clan all the way down. So they have been sending our families, our poor kids, our children out to fight a needless war that we have nothing to do with, and we're still playing this game.
And that's the reason why when I open up this show, I scream, "Good morning, Vietnam."
Is that why you do that for real? I thought like, is he was zeroing in on Robin Williams. I was like, why he keep talking about good morning, Vietnam?
Because I was the product of Vietnam. And the fact of the matter is this, that was a war, that was a political war. It was just like what's happening now in Russia. It was all about politics. It wasn't about that Russia did something wrong. It was about America undermining another country and trying to put democracy in it. And American soldiers went to Vietnam and they lost their lives for nothing. They got their butt kicked in the fall of Saigon, and my brother and so many others went over there. They was exposed to Agent Orange. They had
Yep.
post-war syndrome. They had psychological problems. They were exposed to all these terrible things of war, and they really didn't have to be. It was because of the politicians who
lied
started
to.
it.
And they
They didn't
got
have to
lied
be.
to all the way. What was Camp Lejeune? I keep just seeing all this Camp Lejeune stuff.
That's
They
because
have
they
been
had bad water up there.
for a long time. And how many of our family members over these decades that literally was out there fighting and trying to get this support from the federal government when they knew they had been poisoning them for so long?
And not only that, too, it's the fact of the matter is Vietnam was such a wasteless war, and the money that was funneled into it was just like what they're doing to Ukraine. The
Yep.
politicians were taking the money and they was bringing it back to America to fund their political aspirations. And that's all that's happening. All this money going to the Ukraine, the money we lost in Afghanistan, all the equipment, all the stuff that's happening right now to the American people has already happened before in the past. And the past is repeating itself now because we got thirsty politicians, satanic politicians, homosexual politicians who want to change this earth and walk around and bully other countries like America is so strong. And our morale is low for the Army, Navy, and Air Force because the
Yep.
jab got a lot of people thrown out. Our morale is low because you got officers, colonels, and majors walking around with damn dresses on, talking about
Yep.
they don't know if they're a man or a woman. Our country, the morale is so low because the American people are being affected by all this gas prices, inflation, and all the lies that they telling, stealing money out the reserve, putting our children into homosexuals and transgenders, destroying the schools. I'm just telling y'all a little bit about what we've been through the last 2 years and why we should be at the polls voting the Democrats way the hell out of office, that they should never get in again unless they consult and do what the American people tell them to do because we pay them, we're their employers. Trish?
They don't really care about that anymore. It's the loss of power, loss of a propaganda of having gaslighting all these people for so long. Because you know what? They've been trying to start another race war. They've been trying to start a lot of stuff because it hides the hand of what they're doing because they're not doing anything for a Democrat. I could go back to WikiLeaks. I could go back to a lot of these emails. I could go back to the Clintons. I could tell you what these people said about the Black community. We could go back to actually, you know, the one that's sitting up there right now.
Joe said he don't want no niggas in it around his kids.
Then why in the world am I supposed to be the bad girl? Because I refuse to vote for someone that hates me.
And that's the whole thing when and I couldn't believe it. And this is why I say I read the values to you. All the Americans just watching this show. That's the reason why I read those values to you. And if your values does not line up the Republican Party, then if they value with the Democrats, then you need to vote for them. Excuse me. But to the American people, this country was built on God. It was founded as a republic. And as a republic, how do you think we got to where we're at? We didn't get to become the greatest country in the world by living under the democratic rules.
Right.
But now that we can see what the Democrats stand for, they don't stand for righteousness. They don't stand for integrity. They can't even call themselves a man or a woman. How can we as voters and the American citizens see all of this with our eyes? We're experiencing. The vice president said, I ain't a woman. I don't know what I am. The Supreme Court Justice, Miss Jackson, said she's not a woman. She's a pronoun.
She said that? She really said that?
You don't know what she is. She said she's a pronoun. She ain't no woman or a man. And see, that's the ideology that they're feeding your children. That's the ideology that they're giving your children, that type of narrative in the schools. They don't want them to be boys and girls, but they just want them to be pronoun. They want them to be it. They want them to be something that they're not. Because
Can I say
this
something?
is a spiritual world. Go ahead.
Black, and that ain't going to happen.
No, she's not black.
Be black so bad. And this is what the Black community, Black girl power. She ain't black. And if anything,
Well,
she suppressed so much DNA as being the attorney general or the DA over there in California. She locked up more black people, and you finna say, whoop, whoop, girl power. Yeah, that's the girl that is willing to sleep with your boyfriend or your husband on the side. So you might want to watch out who you hang with.
that's one of those Soros sisters. I think she's an AKA, and she slept her way all the way to the top. And she was Joe Biden's best student because Joe Biden gave her an award for locking black men up, especially having them to die on death row while she withheld their information to make them innocent. So we have two people that's in the office today, to black people. The president, Joe Biden, and the vice president hate our guts. And I want to say something to Charlamagne. See, this is why I say our black children is ignorant as hell. I'm going to say it. The generations after our generation, we raised some dumbass kids. And I want to say something about the Breakfast Club.
Ooh, Lord.
Okay, see, the Breakfast Club is a bunch of idiots walking around, especially this brother called this, I'm Charlamagne the God. I almost said the N-word. You can't even read. You barely can read and write, and you calling yourself a God. How can you continue to do that? You are a total idiot. Nothing good comes out the Breakfast Club but a bunch of gossip and bullshit. And I'm tired of that. I'm tired of watching it. I'm tired when they see I'm Charlamagne the God. I almost said it again. Please stop it. That's the ignorance that our children has grown to. That's the ignorance of what's his name, the smiley boy, the one that dress up like a woman. He be on the show. You know who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, what's his name? Say his name because I want to say it. See, that's the ignorant stuff. He playing church. He got the
talking about, but I don't
know about
his name. But I was like, oh my God, did they say and he called himself Charlamagne the God.
Exactly, and that's idiot because he can't change nothing. See, and that's why I say our children listening to fools like that, and they thinking that, oh, one day that I'm gonna grow up and be God. No, these are the type of narratives. That's the type of content that got black people split up, not knowing who they are. Those people, we can't leave this country, especially black people. We can't leave our country and the fault that we fought to get where we at in the hands of the people like the Black Breakfast Club. And we can't even leave this country in the hands of them house Negroes like Steve Harvey and all the rest of them house Negroes up there in Washington, who is in Hollywood. Dwayne Wade, who now is having problems because the mother of the children, he talking about, well, my daughter wants to have the sex change and become a girl, but his mother don't want him to do it because she filed a court order that says that he can't do that without the mother's permission. So see what we have allowed this country in cahoots with the homosexuals and the stupidity of Satan to create. And they've created people like Dwayne Wade. They've created people like Charlamagne the God. That idiocy. Yep. And not knowing God, that's what it is. And that's why this country going to hell in a handbasket. That's why the black community don't have nothing.
Everything they say, they're going to account for everything they do. And a way to go, Mom, because I was wondering where she was and how Gabrielle Union, of all people, is going to change her own son's sexuality.
And the mother is filed in the court. But see, that's what parents have to do. And that's why I'm so glad that coming up, we got a politician that I want to get elected, Miss Kathleen Murray. She's in the 21st district. Y'all out there, vote for her. She's putting in the same Planned Parenthood law that they got in Florida that outlaws all the gay stuff out the schools. It gives the parents their right backs to choose what curriculum. You can't give the kids no more operations, but you better call the parent if they having the slightest problem. He gave the parents the power back, and that's what we need to do in Illinois is do that. Appreciate your last words. We got to get out of here, sweetie.
It's been a long night. Y'all need to listen to him. Like he said, he's going to be teaching milk and meat. So if you're thinking that he is here to bust your balls, he's not. He's here to let you grow and to help you grow in the right way. Me, I'm just angry. So call me a stereotypical person. I don't care. I'm an angry Republican, MAGA person. You can call me whatever the heck you want, but you can't stop me.
Hey, God bless you, and we'll talk soon. God bless you, sister, and we'll see you later on. Have a good one. Folks, I want to thank you for listening to the show. This is a very critical time. First, let me, before I do my last words, I want to give thanks to sponsorship of the Living and Driving While Black Foundation. Folks, this foundation has been around for over 25 years. We have been in the forefront of making sure Black people's rights are retained. We've written all sorts of legislation. We have stood in the face of adversity with police brutality. We have done so many things to uplift the Black community. We provide job opportunities, clothes, housing, whatever it is to help Black folks and our Black men and women get to the next level. That's what we do, and that's been my ministry since the last 25 or 30 years. Let me say this, and I want the American people and patriots to really think with me right now. Y'all put aside all the stuff that you've seen. Put aside all of the men running around with draws in the daytime and breaking into people's houses with hammers. You know, put aside the Ukraine war. Put aside the inflation. Put aside gas prices right now. I need you to think with me. Put aside all the foolish things that you see. Look at what has happened to us. Look at our country. Look at our structure. Look at our children. We're almost destroyed ourselves. And just 2 years ago, there was no thought to fathom even of all of this stuff happening to the American people. But it wasn't until the Democrats who lied about everything, lied about this, lied about that, said we weren't going to do this. We just got to get the present day leadership out. They're horrible. They did this. They don't care about kids. All they care about is making money and hate and keeping people divided. Now here it is 2 years later. And everything that the Democrats said that the Republican Party was supposed to do against the American people, the Democrat Party has done it against the American people. They wage war on our schools. They wage war on our children. They wage war on the American people with the jab. They file frivolous lawsuits knowing, just forcing the American people to become guinea pigs. Now that they won't even tell you, people took the jab, just dropping like flies. They dying. We had businesses closed. We lost loved ones. This whole COVID thing was a damn scam. And we know it was a scam because Papa Joe came out and said, well, it's all over, guys. He said it was all over because there was no more money in the program that the Democrats like to create. I'm saying this to the American people across the country. Don't get caught up with the narrative of what a Barack Obama is talking about when he said Herschel Walker ain't gonna do a damn thing for Black people when he had 8 years and didn't do nothing for us. Don't get caught up with all the foolishness that you're going to see. There's no one talking about what we need to do to fix this country. Everybody is pointing fingers at everybody saying he's a liar, he's a liar that. But this is what I want you to think about when you go to the polls. Think about all the stuff that has happened to us in the last 2 years. Think about how it has affected you, your children, your family. Think about how it affected your business, your livelihood. Think about Fauci and all the lies that he told. Think about all the things that Joe Biden, the forcing our servicemen dishonorably out the service to take a drug that they knew that was not going to work. I need the American people to think about all the bad things that have happened under this leadership. And think about your situation right now. It's not good. Gas is almost going to be $8 or $9 a gallon. The holidays is coming. And the Democrats steady playing games with our lives and trying to tell us, y'all just need to go out and spend more money for Christmas. You want the American people to go broke when we're already broke. People not able to pay their rent. They're losing homes. No food on the shelves. Children fighting against parents. I'm telling the American people, white, black, green, patriots across this country, think about exactly what has happened to us. Look at this country and look at the future. In the next coming weeks, this country could be in World War III. Because all those other countries that we spoke about earlier are organizing themselves because they know the inside of America is falling. Races against each other. So Putin was right to the American people. We better hang on to our Second Amendment. We better hang on to our guns and our ammunition because we're going to need them. But I want you to stay focused and go to the polls on Tuesday. And I want you to think about all the bullshit that these politicians did in the last 2 years, because we already know what they did. We've already seen what they did. Let us give somebody else a chance. Let us not continue down the road of what we see. If we go down the road of what we see now and we don't make this change on Tuesday, we deserve everything we get, and we're going to be fighting for our lives. So think about it when you go in that booth. Think about what has happened. Think about what the Democrats did. Let's give the Republicans a chance. That's what I'm saying. Let's give them a chance. Let them have a chance, and let's see what they do. That's what I'm recommending. So you don't have to choose the worst of two evils. We already know the Democratic Party is evil. Let's give the Republicans a chance. Let's give Herschel Walker and them a chance. Let's give them guys a chance, and let's see. DeSantis, let's see if we can get this country back on track. God bless you. Thank you for listening, share it around. God bless you and peace. Folks, go to the polls. I cannot see us coming under the leadership of the Democrats for another 2 years. They're going to destroy this country. Vote Republican. Vote your values and vote to save this country. God bless you and thank you and peace.